Good evening and welcome. Here we are at the Vortex Entrepreneurs, and my name is Peter Spate, a property developer, and it's how to raise your first million for your property investing. I'm with my co-founder of the Vortex Entrepreneurs, Mary Cullen, and I'm just going to go through now a number of slides. Should only be about an hour, and hopefully you'll get some great information from it. So the agenda for this evening is going to be my backstory, 4 common mistakes, limiting beliefs, and raising finance techniques. And any Q&As, we can put them into the chat box and we'll answer them as we end the presentation. Okay, so my journey, born in Middlesbrough in the 60s. My first 7 years were very tumultuous. At 18 months old, I fell into an open fire. I was playing around with my brothers. I had 2 brothers at the time, and my dad was looking after us, but he was actually in the kitchen at the time when I fell into this open fire, and I was seriously injured and rushed to A&E, and I was basically in the burns unit for many months, and there were some times there where my life was on the line, and it was a very horrific accident that occurred to me, and it scarred me physically and mentally, and unbeknown to me, those scars would run all the way through my life and hold me to ransom in some cases. Up to about the age of 5, my mum and dad broke up. My dad threw my mum out with me and my 4 brothers, and for a time there we spent going back and forth between mum and dad, not quite sure who wanted us or if any of them wanted us. But thankfully my mum took us, and she met our stepdad, and he basically took us under his wing, and it was a very great thing that he did, taking on four lads that weren't his. Eventually we moved to Essex and then to Hertfordshire, but before finally ending up in Barnsley, South Yorkshire. There we were brought up on a council estate. This all was impactful in my adulthood. At 19 I joined the REMI, predominantly working on surface-to-air missile systems. I excelled and I climbed the ranks quickly. I did really well actually, because of the type of personality that I'd grown up with. So therefore I was thrusting myself into many things, not only moving up the ranks quickly. I became a physical training instructor, a rock climbing instructor, an expedition leader, completed Royal Marines commando training, served with them for a bit, and did some other stuff as well. And then unfortunately for me as well, I didn't see much combat, but I did serve in Northern Ireland for a while, and sadly on one of the tours there, I remember we were protecting Besbrook, which was a big helicopter launch pad really into the bandit country, we called it, at those times. And on the day of we were going out in the morning, and there was 3 checkpoints around Besbrook, they called it, and it was Alpha, Bravo and Charlie checkpoint, and myself and my colleague flicked a coin to determine which one we were going to, and I won the toss, and I chose to go to Alpha, and he went to the Charlie checkpoint. Unfortunately, at the same time as that we were both doing the same job, me on Alpha, him on Charlie, he was shot by an IRA sniper and killed not instantly actually, sadly. He was killed and injured really badly. It didn't last very long. It was a horrific time for us, and if you can imagine the guilt I felt about winning that tossing of the coin was again held me to ransom for many years. I left as a warrant officer class 1 in 2004, and they gave me £8,000. I'd served just over 20 years, and I got £8,000, and with that I used that to buy my first property. And it was an interesting time because I actually had no training, no education. I didn't know anybody else who was into property. I just thought I'm going to get into it and do it. Anyway, I put lots of gusto into it, and between 2000 and 2008, I bought a number of buy-to-lets below market value, did them up, rented them out, and I had this plan, a 7-year plan, that after 7 years I would sell my first one and that would pay off all of the debts. And for those people who were around at that time, you could buy houses on credit cards, and the mortgages were like 95% mortgages, etc. And so it seemed too good to be true. And of course, 2007, 2008, there was an almighty crash, and it was an end of a dream, because I basically panicked because I didn't have anybody else to turn to and help me through this period. And I started putting all my properties into auction and selling them less than what I bought them for at some stages, and until I came to my senses. But I don't know whether you've been in similar situations. I had this dream, and the whole staircase to it collapsed, and I was in turmoil. I was in massive debt. It left me with £100,000 worth of debt, and but I did come to my senses, and I held on to a few of those buy-to-lets, and then decided to go back into the corporate world. So I got myself a job and worked my way into a company called Howden Joinery, for those who know it, and became a senior engineering manager with them. Great company to work for, and for the personality that I was, they lapped it up. I was first of all in manufacturing, looking after a number of manufacturing factories, as well as doing capital projects, putting in boiler houses and silo systems and things like this. Eventually I was doing so well, they promoted me to the logistics engineering manager, and my task there was to go down to Northampton, look after their big national distribution centre, which was a 1 million square foot warehouse, as well as help to create 3 brand new warehouses for their national distribution centre. So we're going to move out the 1 million square foot one and move into this. And the pictures you see on the right hand side there of is the 650,000 square foot warehouse. That's the first one that we built. That cost around 26 million to buy, and one of my primary jobs was to manage the 19 million pound infrastructure, which was all the fire systems, the racking systems, etc. And that whole complex was over £1 million capex, and but it did create 1.6 million pounds worth of storage space, so that we could move out the £1 million one, and it helped with the strategic growth of Howden. Very exciting times, and I did enjoy it, and I was getting lots of money, but I was working my nuts off, to be honest, and working 60 to 80 hours a week, driving thousands of miles up and down the country at the beck and call of my bosses. And of course I was making the gaffer who owned Howden Joinery very wealthy indeed. But despite my upbringing, despite the challenges that I had to endure and go through, I am blessed with 2 beautiful, hard-working daughters and 4 awesomely talented grandsons. And I am biased, but they are all very well, all talented, all 6 of them. But like most people, I wanted more. So I began a journey of self-reflection. How many of you have actually got to the point of your life where you're looking at all your blessings, you're looking at all of the hard works, the graphs, etc., and just think to yourself, there's got to be more to life than this. So that's where I got to, and I knew that I couldn't go on working 60, 80 hours a week, driving up and down the motorway. So I looked to educate myself even further, got myself further education, higher education. I learned how to present, and I also knew I needed to learn some different skills, because the commercial world was showing me some massive results and profits that the landlords and the vendors and the financiers were making. And I thought to myself, I need to get into that market. So I restarted my property journey in 2016 and turned most of my buy-to-lets into service accommodation, because I was taught service accommodation was a great way to generate cash. And it was. And I added rent-to-rent to that service accommodation portfolio, and I was able to create a decent income alongside my job income. But I did know that the bigger rewards were in the bigger deals, and so I paid for mentorship, I paid for training, and I learned how to present to investors and to speak from the stage, and I learned how to finance bigger deals, and I spoke to a lot more people who were in the know and got lots and lots of information. And this is me here. I've just basically presented to these guys the property elevator, and had a commitment of £1 million. And the journey to that wasn't an overnight success. There was lots of fears, there's lots of things to deal with, and there's lots of understanding of myself to give me the confidence to go and to present to these property property dragons, if you like, for want of a better word. So, yeah, by 2020, I was able to leave my corporate job. 2019, I bought my first commercial property and leased my first hotel. I now own a hotel and a commercial property and former YMCA we bought. Now, the former YMCA is on 4.6 acres of land. We bought that just for planning gain, and we got the planning permission for a care village, and that's basically now being packaged up to sell. And I've also mentored over 300 property business owners. And I started doing the mentoring for 2017, 2018, and I've been mentoring now ever since, based on all of the experience from corporate world and based on my experience in the property world as well. So to date, I've raised over £3 million to invest into properties, and I'm currently in a raise of 700, and I've also secured access into a family office, and again, that is techniques, networking, speaking to the right people, speaking to the right, with the right terminology and with the right mindset. So I've come from a poverty mindset to being able to raise multi-million pounds to fund my business, and that's been a great journey and a profound journey. So what are the 4 common mistakes that separates the struggling property investor from those who are able to fund their 6 to 7 figure businesses? First of all, it's the lack of awareness of the limiting beliefs around money. And if you can imagine, I was brought up in poverty, I had lots of trauma as a child, and I had lots of limiting beliefs, not only around my self-worth and around my self-importance and my capabilities, but around money mindset as well, and depending on how you were brought up, money is the root of all evil, it's all right for them, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer, and I can't afford this, and don't be silly, money doesn't grow on trees, all those type of language, all that language was used around me as a child, and so therefore that put lots and lots of ceilings on my mindset, then on my language around money. They don't understand FCA rules about raising finance, particularly using social media. So the FCA obviously are the conduct authority in the financial world, and they police the finance world. And you've got lots of people who want to raise money and just throw various deals out on social media. And you've got to understand what the FCA rules are all about in relation to that, because you can get yourself into big trouble. They ask the wrong people. Now, I know that everyone is taught in the training courses, ask family and friends first. Well, yeah, ask your family and friends if they have a money mindset. But if you're asking your family and friends if they come from a poor background and have a poor money mindset, then you're asking the wrong people. And many cases you see that people who have never been around money go and start asking lots of people who are in their circle of influence, and then of course they get rejected. And then after a while that just reinforces their belief around money. They don't ask for enough money. Now there's a great example. There's a guy when I was mentoring, we had 8 people around the table, and there's one chap, he had a commercial deal, but he wasn't confident enough to go for it. He needed £500,000 to get it off the ground, but he did have a residential refurb project, and he needed about 50 grand to do the refurb. And so therefore he brought that to the table and then presented that as the deal to analyse for us. And it was mentioned that he wanted £50,000, and we were talking about how to raise that. Now I knew on the same table we had a lady who had £500,000, and she was looking to deploy that. But when he was talking about raising £50,000, it didn't mean anything to her because she wasn't looking to lend £50,000. So then I asked him some leading questions to get him to bring the commercial deal that I knew he had. And then we said, well, how much money do you need for that? So he told us he needs £500,000. I said, well, are you going to ask for that? And as soon as he asked, well, I do need somebody who's got £500,000 to come and invest with me. This lady then registered that because she was looking for somebody to a place to put her £500,000. And that is just one of the examples of where people don't ask for enough money because they're fearful of asking for a lot of money. So let's just talk about limiting beliefs, because I know I had many limiting beliefs. It's not enough to just have a desire to achieve your goal. In some ways, it can actually be a hindrance to achieving your goal. You must know what your limiting beliefs are. And in the beginning, I didn't know what my limiting beliefs were. I didn't realize I had so many limiting beliefs around money. So your belief creates your reality. Where you place your attention is truly what is manifesting in your life. However, what you think you are focused on is often not what you are really focused on. Your reality unconsciously is created from your fundamental beliefs, which makes up 95% of your thoughts and emotions. They are like a paper cut to your subconscious, always reminding you that they are there. Now, this is the belief loop cycle. So my beliefs around money was that money was the root of all evil. The rich get richer, the poorer get poorer. Money doesn't grow on trees. And so therefore, in the back of my mind, in my unconscious, I had this lack around money. So whenever I was asking for money, I didn't get it. And so therefore, the belief creates your thoughts and emotions. Your thoughts and emotions create your reality, create your actions. And from your reality, then that just reinforces. So I was going forward and presenting, asking for money, but fundamentally, my belief system is that you're not worthy of all that money. So therefore, my reality proved, when people turned me down, I wasn't worthy of raising finance. And it's not until I learned the aspects of unconsciousness and the aspects of consciousness, and I realized I was the unconscious creator. Because your consciousness is made up of superconscious, self-conscious, and unconscious. And they feed into your subconscious. Now, your subconscious is just like a robot. Any demands that the superconscious, self-conscious, and unconscious send into it just says, yeah, okay, then I'll deliver that. And it delivers it in the form of thoughts and emotions. Now, thoughts and emotions then will generate action. And then from the action, you'll get your results. Now, unfortunately, 95% of your thoughts and emotions are based on your fundamental beliefs. So therefore, your subconscious is getting all of these fundamental beliefs, and that generates the thoughts and emotions and gets you the results. I was never aware of that until spending the time and money to find out. And then once I realized about this, then I was able to neutralize their effects, to change the way that I thought and the way that I had emotions around money and going forward for asking for money, and my actions then changed, and therefore my results changed. So let's do an example here. So the goal is to raise £100,000. So first of all, you've got the desire for £100,000. You make the effort to do that, but you're not clear on your end result, and you find you're not getting any closer. You get frustrated and think it's because you are lacking something, so you try to fix it with a course. And I did that so many times. I've got to go away on a different course. I'm not getting the results. I'm not raising the finance. So I'll go and learn something else. I'll go and learn something else. I'll go and pay for something else. And ultimately, you're just making little progress, but nothing of significance. So you think, oh, it must be the wrong time. It's the wrong strategy. There's something wrong with me. Now, for me, it's something wrong with me. Yeah, because I was feeling unworthy. I was feeling unimportant, because that was my fundamental belief. The more you focus on the goal, the more you remain in desire of it. Desire emphasizes the separation between the desire and the goal, the actual amount and the desired amount. And then all that does is just keep the money away from you. It keeps pushing it away, because you've got this dysfunctional desire for it, dysfunctional need for it. And so therefore, in time, you haven't raised the finance, you haven't made significant progress, so you basically either think, oh, I'll do it next year, or you just give up and just go back to whatever you're doing. But you don't realize that it's actually your fundamental belief that is creating the result of you not raising the money. The bridge to raising finance starts firstly inside. And this is something that we teach our clients who have chosen to work with us. Because we've learnt it ourselves, both Mary and I have had similar situations whereby we had limiting beliefs. And once we realised what the limiting beliefs were, we were able to neutralise them, and then that was then enabled us to go into a conscious creation to be able to raise the finances that we needed for the property developments that we've been involved in. Let's just talk about some raising finance techniques. So I have a question for you. How many ways can you raise finance to purchase a property? Now, on a mentoring group, we did this exercise a number of times, and in this one particular case, we came up with 41 ways to raise finance to buy property, whether that's residential or commercial. 41 ways. Now, I do know that there's even more ways of raising finance than that, but 41 ways, I'm sure, with 41 ways of raising finance, you should be able to buy property and move your business forward some way. Okay, the top ways to raise finance, from my perspective, obviously some people favour other ways, is vendor financing. So in the vendor financing, you'll negotiate with the vendor to finance a portion of the purchase price, which reduces your initial outlay. I'm well versed in this method, and I like this method because basically we're getting the vendor to leave some money in, and then therefore you don't have to go and find the whole amount that you need. So in one particular case, we negotiated the price of a commercial property down from 675 to 515, and then I was able to get the vendor to leave £230,000 in. So the vendor financing was £230,000. Then I just had to go and find the rest, which I did through investor financing. The other aspect, which is popular, is crowdfunding. So we utilise online crowdfunding platforms to attract multiple investors, and they all contribute small amounts or large amounts of capital towards your project. One aspect to this is that the crowdfunding platform you use must be FCA approved. Joint ventures. So with joint ventures, you partner with experienced developers, landowners or investors to pool your resources and share your risk and rewards. Big caveat here is make sure that everybody in that JV understands their roles and responsibilities, understands the aspect around refinancing, because with most deals, you're putting money in, you're going to add value, then you're going to refinance it on the new value. And particularly in the commercial world, you're going to need personal guarantees, and anybody who has a shareholding over 20 or 25% in the company will have to do a PG. Now, you must make sure that your joint ventures know that they have to put PGs in place for refinancing, getting out of it. So if you've got JV ventures, joint ventures, and you're thinking about partnering up with them, one of the best questions to ask them first of all is to make them aware for commercial finance that they're going to have to give a PG, and if they're comfortable with that. If they are not, don't JV with them, because it will cause you a multitude of problems going forward. Private investors, obviously seeking funding from high net worth individuals or investment groups interested in financing property development projects in exchange for equity or profits. All high net worth investors and sophisticated investors must prove with evidence that they are what they say they are, and that evidence has to come from a reliable source, like an accountant. So if you are going and having private investors, make sure that they are proving and giving you the evidence that they are high net worth investors, because one of the things that you have to do is obviously check where the money's coming from. Again, for the anti-money laundering rules and laws, you are responsible to make sure that you're getting the money from the right places and from the right people. Another way to raise finance is equity release from existing assets. So basically using equity from other properties or assets or as collateral to secure funding for your development project. And when it comes to assets, it could be classic cars, it could be gold bars, it could be gold coins, it could be Bitcoin, or whatever your lenders are happy to accept as an asset, then you can raise finance against that. And actually the asset base is as long as it is wide, really, and very profitable if you can get it, I guess. Mezzanine finance, obtain mezzanine financing from specialist lenders to bridge the gap between the existing equity and the required loan to value. Because sometimes you might not be able to raise all of the money from the commercial lending fraternity, and so therefore you might have to just have some mezzanine finance, just plug in the gap. And there are plenty of specialist lenders out there who can do that. So those are just some ways to raise your first million. So what I want you to do now is imagine working with us. What results would you need in order for the investment to be the best investment that you've ever made? So what we've produced now is a 2-day event, raising your first million, and it's held every month on the last Wednesday and Thursday of every month. So this month, of course, it's the last Wednesday of every Thursday, last Wednesday and Thursday. It's a full day, so it's from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and we're in the room, and we'll be at the Delta Marriott Hotel in Milton Keynes. That venue may change throughout the year, depending on numbers and localities, but generally that's where it's going to be held. Now, in this 2-day live event, we're going to show you how to identify your fundamental beliefs, how to identify your compensating strategies, how to create the right money mindset, how to overcome your self-sabotage, what the strategies are to raising finance. We've gone through a few of those already, but as I say, there's 41 plus. We're going to show you how to analyze your deals, whether they're residential or commercial. We're going to show you the creative ways to buy property. We're going to show you how to tailor your message to the different personalities, because there are different personalities. So if you speak the wrong language, the wrong tempo to certain people, you won't resonate with them, and they won't buy into you and buy into your deal. So if we can teach how you can put the message to the right personality, it'll make your chances of success so much better. We'll also do a deal clinic for those who have got deals, and then you've got access both to Mary and I, and all of that wealth of experience and knowledge and investment in ourselves that comes with that. So you've seen the potential methods to raise millions, some of them at least. You've seen the benefit of understanding your thoughts. You've seen the ways to stop limiting beliefs and self-sabotage. And the way that you've seen that is because I've done it, and coming from the poverty mindset where I was to being able to raise hundreds of thousands of pounds and millions of pounds, then you've seen it in person. Is it going to be worth learning how to raise your first million and buy assets with none of your own money? But assuming you don't work with us, what would be the outcome? Because if you're raising money and you're successful, then of course you'll have everything that you want, and you won't be looking at this. But if you're not raising money because you don't know how to raise money, or you don't know how to overcome the mindset that you've got, then you might just keep going around the belief loop cycle like I was for a number of years until I recognized what was going on. But what's the opportunity cost? How much are you going to lose in not learning how to do things in the correct way and taming your mind and having the mind mastery? What's that cost going to be like to you? So normally we charge £990 for our 2-day event. But anybody who watches the webinar for today only, we're just going to charge £495. If you commit to it today, of course. We do have a bonus though for those who book. And the first bonus is the powerful goal setting technique document, which we use to teach our clients who are on our other mentoring programs. And that goal setting technique document is like no other, because it takes into account your whole psychology. It takes into account your fundamental beliefs. It takes into account the techniques with which to goal set. And it's not just about being smart. The other bonus is that we will give you a one-to-one strategy call free. Generally I charge £750 for the hour, but we give it free for those who are booking onto our 2-day events. So if you're interested in raising finance, if you're interested in learning the techniques to master your fundamental beliefs and to master your mind, then book now and come along and learn those techniques to make you successful in raising multi-million pounds. If it's just hundreds of thousands of pounds to start with, it's a starter, but we'll teach you how to do that on these 2 days. And yeah, it's well worth the investment. You can imagine working with us for that amount of money, or you choose not to work with us. If you make a deposit today to secure your place, then that just ensures that you can get the place, because we're only opening the 2-day event up to a small number of people, because it is all about value, and we know that we don't want too many people in the room because it dilutes, and we want to be able to work with each and every one of you, because mind mastery is a very personal journey. And of course, once we've mastered that, then it just makes raising the finance so much easier. This is just a couple of people who've been on our mentoring programs, and yeah, read them for yourself. It's really worthwhile, the transformation that we see with our clients, and it's because we focus on mind mastery as well as business acquisition, and we dovetail them two together. Because if you haven't mastered your mind, if you haven't mastered your fundamental beliefs, then you will always just keep going around that belief loop cycle and reinforcing reinforcing the results that you're getting. And it's Einstein says, you cannot, if you want to change some things in your life, you've got to change some things in your life. You can't change a problem with the same level of thinking. And that's what we'll do. We'll help you to change your thinking. We'll help you to change your the way that you approach things. We'll help you to identify your fundamental beliefs, your compensating strategies, neutralise them so you can go forward with a money mindset, with a raising finance mindset that is productive and good. That's it for me, and hopefully you've had a great bit of insight, and there's more knowledge to be delivered. And yeah, it'd be great if you want to join us on the 2-day event, and then we can see you move your property business forward. So what I'll do now, I'll just leave this on the payment page.